So Ram, what's your sense of the strength of the caste alliances that have been stitched up by Jayalalithaa? She's been more accommodative of her allies this time. Some would say maybe less arrogant as well. But because she's given so many seats as she has to a number of smaller parties, does that make her alliance stronger than that of the DMK and the Congress?
Yes, it makes for good arithmetic. But the key factor, as you brought out, is a third force joining one camp. I think that's what made a huge difference to the last outcome in the Lok Sabha election. And I find from your poll, 11.3% of the voters say they'll support DMDK. That's a very decisive number. And I think that and add to the fact that the price rise. That's why I say it's internally consistent. Nearly 60% of the people find it the key issue, and more than 50% talk about corruption. So that's why it's completely consistent. On the one hand, you have Jayalalithaa has avoided the division of the vote, and on the other hand, there is a swing factor, it appears, from your poll that is very important.
I also would like to inform our viewers that we invited leaders from the DMK to be a part of this discussion. All of them turned down our request, saying we know what the polls are going to show and we don't want to have any part of it. We're also seeing, apart just from this, Mr. Iyer, the fact that senior leaders of the DMK are now giving up their urban constituencies and going into the villages because they are concerned that they know maybe deep within them that in the urban areas they'll be routed, and they're hoping that in the rural areas the 2G scam and the stench of corruption won't impact them so much.
But the number of rural seats is much larger than the number of urban seats.
But so far they've been fighting from Chennai and the urban constituencies. Now they're going into the villages.
I have a feeling that the issues on which you've asked questions are relevant to the urban voter, and the issues on which you haven't asked questions are the ones that are relevant to the rural voter. That is why I feel that your whole system of asking questions has been skewed in the wrong direction, and therefore you've got a very big surprise coming on the 13th of May.
Okay, Mr. Ram, Mr. Iyer's contention essentially is that the number of voters to whom the schemes launched by the DMK government have reached out to and have benefited, that is what will see the DMK Congress alliance through. Do you get that sense as well? Yes, they've got the 1 rupee rice. Yes, they've got the free TVs. Will that in any way go in favor of the DMK, that here's a government that is delivered on development?
There's no question that this is the countervailing factor, because the welfare measures, you have universal PDS in Tamil Nadu, you have a good system of primary health care and so on, but this is not the doing of one government. I think there's been a continuity of policies on these issues, and the DMK has done more than its share perhaps. But that has to be weighed against your major findings, which I repeat, I re-emphasize. One, the price rise of essential commodities is a huge issue. 60% of the people are bothered by it. More than 50% find corruption a major issue. Look at what the findings are on the 2G spectrum scam, and that accounts for the swing. Then the arithmetic is brought by this alliance between the AIDMK. That's why I say it's internally, it makes a lot of sense. And the margin is much bigger than many people expect, but that's not surprising in Tamil Nadu. So I think the poll is a rigorous poll. As far as I'm concerned, the right questions have been asked, and assuming that it's perfectly random, the survey was a perfectly random survey, which I have no reason to doubt. I think this poll has to be taken very, very seriously.